Mayor Letham, your downtown is known as one of the nicest small town downtowns. You've pretty much got most storefronts full. You've got continued growth. You're very fortunate too, is that as you go further west on Kent Street, your main street, you get into your sort of what's Peterborough's Lansdowne Street. So it flows. You don't have sort of these diverse. You've got your main old style commercial flowing into sort of the new more shopping center commercial, and there's been growth at both ends. But traversing through there the other day, Kent Street, what's happening there?
Construction, did you?
Well, I noticed I should turn left before I got to Kent Street to get where I was going. But here's a shot of the downtown now. But what's happening? What are the plans for your downtown?
We've got some great plans for our downtown. We made one of the commitments several years ago that we were going to sort of renovate, rejuvenate a lot of our downtowns. Bob Cajun was done 4 or 5 years ago. Lindsay's being done now. It's going to be done over the next. Last year it started, and then over the next 3 years, so it's a 4-year program. It's all our infrastructure in the ground. Some of our pipes are 130 years old, so they need to be replaced. And while we're doing that, obviously we're going to put in new curbs and sidewalks and street lights and street lamps, and just give it a nice refresh. Widen the sidewalks, have some bump outs where it's a little bit more pedestrian friendly. It's going to be tough for some of our local businesses for a few years, and they know that. We've worked with them, we've consulted with them, we've had a lot of sessions with them. As how do you want to do this? Do you want to do this all in 1 year and just suck it up and go through that misery, or do you want to stagger it over several years? And I think they've with their help, we've come up with a good plan with our consultants and the construction guys to make it as viable as possible. So we'll get there.
So how do you go about, Lindsay does have a really nice downtown, I would like to add, but how do you go about attracting shoppers to Lindsay and keeping Lindsay people in Lindsay for shopping instead of them going to Oshawa to shop or Peterborough to shop? I don't know how much you want to get into this mythical Walmart that's been promised over the years, but
not really. Well, I mean, our downtown, like you say, is a very vibrant downtown, and I think people shop there because they like the experience of shopping in the downtown. It's not the big box, shopping experience. It's unique, it's different, it's friendly, it's wide streets. It's just, I hear people say that all the time. You have a really nice downtown. It's fun to walk around in your downtown, and over the last 5-10 years, it's gotten nicer. It's we've got some nice restaurants there, a nice mix of different businesses. We need to keep people in town like every other small town does, and we're working hard to get our Walmart out in the West End. From what they tell me, it's very close. It's a private landowner and a private business that are trying to make a deal, and the city's really done everything we can do to move that along, and we're hoping we've got some very positive news there in the near future. But at the end of the day, it's about that experience for shopping, and we all feel we don't feel that's going to hurt our downtown. Most of us feel that that's going to help keep people in town, and while they're there, they'll enjoy that downtown experience as well. So.
I mean, across the world, I think we're seeing the effect of e-commerce on kind of traditional retail environment. We really don't have big department stores anymore like Sears or Zellers or anything like that. You see the rise of Amazon, and that's had a very real impact on local retailers. What has the impact of e-commerce been on retail in Lindsay?
Yeah, no, I think it has an effect on everybody. Some of our downtown businesses in Lindsay are certainly transitioning and trying to do online sales as part of their business. Other businesses, it's a little tougher to do because they don't have the support, network behind them of a big company. But I think at the end of the day, they from what I hear from people again, is they try to promote that unique experience of shopping. The customer service and just the attention you get when you come into a small store and you're the only customer in the store, or there's only a couple of people in the store, and you can take your time. And I talk to people who have customers come in and spend 2 hours trying on clothes, and they walk out with 3 or 4 different items, and I just think it's a different experience. I don't think the online shopping's going away. It's just a different way of doing business that we're going to have. Small businesses in a downtown are going to have to adapt to, and the ones that adapt will be successful, and the ones that don't are going to struggle. So I just think it's all part of that changing economy as we move forward. Speaking of Walmart, 40% of their business now is online, so they've changed the whole way they do business as well. It's ordered ahead of time, drive up and pick it up, and go from there. So that whole infrastructure, that whole big box, business, retail business is changing across the world, and along with our habits, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of these boutique shops get into that world, so they're actually having shoppers come in from outside their location as well. So there's, if they get into the online retail, they can actually take advantage of that while trying to keep the doors open on a main street.
Yeah, sure. And I think they just need to be creative. They need to find ways to draw people in and make it a fun experience for people to come and shop. And it doesn't mean they can't still shop online somewhere, but for certain things that we have unique in our small store, come in and enjoy the shopping experience. I mean, you got to get off your couch and get out of your house at some point. So come on down to the store. Maybe and come on down when we've got construction, because that's when they're really going to need your help. In downtown Lindsay. So yeah.
Hey, so one of the things we in the Peterborough region on the show we've talked a lot about is housing and affordable housing, the issue with homelessness. Now, Lindsay took actually you were a pilot project for to help relieve that with a basic income at one time, but related to that was the development of a housing first complex just north of the downtown. And back in September, one of these papers covered the story that there were some neighbors that weren't happy. They thought basically it was a nice-looking building, but there was some problems that came with it. Now, what's the status of we're showing the building now, which is it was an empty field, and now there's some housing. But what are the challenges and what are the positives coming out of that?
It was the old railway lands in Lindsay, so there was a bit of contamination we had to clean up. So it was a great use for that property, which half of it is our staff, our housing. Social housing staff are now all housed in there, as opposed to renting a facility, renting space somewhere else. And then the other half is 24, individual units for people who are homeless, on the streets. It is a housing first model. It's been done in other areas across the country, across the world. They've shown some great success. It's taking homeless people, whether they have addiction or mental health issues, and the first concept is giving them a roof, giving them a home, a place they can call home, and they don't have to get treatment for their addiction or their mental health at first. They just need to sort of give them a roof over their head, give them some security, and then let's deal with the other issues afterwards. And it was a tough start, because you brought all these people who were in our community regardless, but they were couch surfing in different areas of the city. We brought them into one location. We took 24 people basically off the street who were struggling, and we gave them this, and we gave them some support services, obviously. And some of the neighbors, it was a bit of a shock to them all at once, and rightly so. And we probably could have communicated what we were doing a little bit better as a city. But when I talked to the police and I talked to our staff over there now, who are looking after it, they're already seeing some great results from some of the people who are there. So whether they're getting better or they're dealing with some of their other issues, it's not an easy concept. We knew that. We were told that this isn't going to be an easy change, an easy fix. But if we grind through the first 6 months, then I think we're going to see some good results. And from what I hear, they're starting to see some good results for people, and that's great news.